So, it's a little over 2 weeks until Future Trunks returns for the newest arc of Dragon Ball Super, and opinions are still a little mixed. Some people I know are really excited for this, some people I know say this is still the most stupid idea ever, and I'm a little on the fence. I'm not against the idea, but it was never something that I always wanted, and I don't really know where it's gonna go. But I've been thinking about it, and I've realized that there's one thing I want from Future Trunks in Dragon Ball Super. Something I think will make his return an actually good idea. So, this is my sort of speculation slash hope slash theory video about the newest arc. A few months ago, I did a video about 5 things I wanted from the Champa arc, only about like two of them to actually be fulfilled. So, I'm not very good at predicting this series, and it almost never goes the way I wanted it to go. So, don't expect any of this to actually happen. I just wanted to get this idea out there. What I want from Future Trunks is that he's not such an important character in the grand scheme of things. Okay, that might sound a little strange. That's the kind of thing that people say that they hate about the series when it doesn't use the supporting cast well and it just has like a waste of a character. But just let me just explain. See, the reason why I was skeptical and why I've always been skeptical of Future Trunks' return being a good idea was because his character arc was ended so finally at the end of the Cell arc. When Trunks was introduced, and especially once he returned to fight the androids, the two main aspects of his character were I want to save my future and I want my father to respect me. Both of those were completely resolved by the end of the arc. He does save his future by destroying the androids and Cell in his time, and then Vegeta actually does acknowledge him after he gets killed by Cell. When he attacks Cell with no regard for his own safety when that happens. And then after that, he gives Trunks a salute when he leaves in his time machine. I love that moment. So my problem with Trunks returning is, where else could this character possibly go? I mean, I guess there's that Time Patrol stuff, I guess, but I'll be honest, I don't really care for that either. It just doesn't interest me. It feels more like a side story. And the way the time travel works in like Xenoverse is a bit inconsistent to how it was handled in the actual series. I don't want Super to start just changing things like that. But anyway, the problem is that nowadays, Future Trunks' motivations that we knew about him, they're all gone. I mean, obviously now he'd want to save his own future from this Goku Black or whatever it is, but I can't think of anything new or interesting coming out of that idea. If they put focus on that, then it's just going to be a repeat of what happened in the Cell arc. Trunks is hanging around so he can get stronger to save his future from some unknown threat. And that would be really repetitive, just like having Future Trunks show up after so many years and then having his role just be pretty much the exact same role he had the literal last time we saw him. Like, that would be pretty boring. It's why I hope that in this new arc, Future Trunks is going to function more as a character who gives exposition and reacts to all the new stuff that's been introduced to the series since he left, in a sort of like audience surrogate kind of role. Because that way they can keep his character there without having to make his character arc essentially go backwards and ruining the finality that his character got at the end of the Cell arc. The other reason why I don't want Future Trunks to be that important is that I think he's more interesting that way. Like, if you think about Future Trunks' role in the original series, he actually doesn't do that much. His main accomplishments were killing Frieza, giving Goku the medicine for his heart virus, and dying. He is basically useless the moment the androids show up. His big face-off against Cell ends in complete failure. In fact, he's kind of consistently a failure in that arc, like many other characters. But at the same time, I still really enjoy Future Trunks' role in the series, because he actually does accomplish a lot in the arc, just indirectly. He may not accomplish things, but his presence facilitates other things. His existence facilitates Vegeta's character development, for one. It's Vegeta being confronted by his son and having to face responsibility because of it. So if you, say, took Future Trunks out of the story, the plot may not directly change, but Vegeta would have. Or rather, Vegeta wouldn't have changed because there isn't a son to die in front of him for him to realize that he cares about others. I honestly think Future Trunks was one of the best ways to use a supporting cast member. You know they're not going to be strong enough to defeat a main villain, but you keep them around to influence the main characters who are strong enough, or who we know will actually stick around once the arc is over. That way, the supporting cast is useful and important without even having to fight. So when Future Trunks returns in Super, I want his role to be a little bit like that. I want his presence to allow other characters to grow and change, not necessarily him. Characters that we know for sure are going to be in this series until the end. Like, say, Kid Trunks? Like, he'd be a character who could really change and grow if he interacts with, the battle hardened, cooler, older version of himself from the future. I mean, the joke in the fandom is that everyone likes Future Trunks more than Kid Trunks because Kid Trunks is really bratty. So what if when Future Trunks comes back, everyone's just praising about like how cool and mature he is, forcing Kid Trunks to start like feeling inferior, and then maybe he'll kind of grow as a person because of it? And then if Kid Trunks starts developing, then Goten could also maybe develop because, they're best friends and they're influenced by each other. Or what about Gohan? Trunks literally only knows like the badass versions of Gohan. There's like future Gohan and Gohan from the Cell games. So if he sees him the way he is now in Super, it could actually be a bit of a shock to him. And perhaps maybe when Gohan sees Trunks, that could influence him somehow. Like maybe Gohan could get character development and he could be important in this arc. I mean, personally, I don't want them to like completely change Gohan's character entirely, but that's another story. And also stuff like, I can't imagine Vegeta's character going somewhere new, but future Trunks' presence could influence that. Or, Goku, or Bulma, or anyone really. Treating future Trunks as just a badass with a sword who's really powerful doesn't let you do nearly as much. And it's not interesting because he doesn't add anything new to the story if all you're bringing him in for is so he can look cool. And that's why I don't want future Trunks to be that important in the grand scheme of things. Because he's more than just a badass with a sword who could be really powerful, maybe, I don't know. Like, he's an important character with, like, relationships to the entire cast. And if you bring up those relationships, we could have actual character development, and then that could make this arc actually feel worthwhile and not just completely skippable. So using Future Trunks is basically a way for other characters to get character development. I think that is probably the best way I can think of salvaging this idea for an arc. But once again, I have to say, I don't have the best track record in predicting what happens in Super. This series might just do the exact opposite of what I think, and it's actually kind of done that before. But still, fingers crossed.